Well, welcome to another BA Chats. We're so glad that you're listening today. I'm your host, Kevin Kuntz, and right next to me is the lovely Miss Rachel Kuntz.
Thanks for listening. We're always happy to have you guys. We always like to remind you that we do BA Chats because we believe in the testimony. Testimony means do it again, God. So he loves to just be good to all of us constantly, all of the time. And so we love to share stories just of his goodness and what he's doing in us and through us. And it's appropriate and it's beautiful that our hearts jump at these stories. And it's appropriate and it's beautiful that we say, do it again at me, do anything you wanted me.
Well, and the truth is, it's good for you to know you now have access to something that somebody else had a breakthrough in.
Totally.
Now you have access to it. So, and the other reason why we do BA Chats is because in our body here at Bethel, Atlanta, holy moly.
Holy moly.
You can look around and see stories of miracles, and there's just gold everywhere you go here in our campus. I feel like we just have an entire body of leaders who are just ready to see the kingdom of God come. And so it would be a shame, and we don't believe in shame, but it would be a shame for us not to share all of these wonderful people with you. So today, I'll let you introduce our wonderful guest, Rach.
We are so excited. We've been looking forward to this chat for forever.
Yeah, this is a long time coming.
We have Joshua and Vanessa Hale. Welcome, Hales.
Thank you.
Good to be here.
Oh,
Welcome.
we're so happy to have you guys. So as you guys know, Vanessa is our praise and worship leader here at Bethel, Atlanta, our very loved praise and worship leader. Josh is her precious husband, businessman in Atlanta, so we're just going to get to know them. Let's go ahead and start with Josh. Josh, acquaint us with you.
Okay, yeah. Wow, Josh Hale, not of Steve Hale.
It's a good clarifier.
Yeah,
You got to say
exactly.
it. It's got to be said.
Yeah.
Here at our church, that's a common mistake. But came from LaGrange, Georgia. Met Vanessa in 2008 in Noonan, Georgia, shortly after I made a move there. And
Wait, so not in school?
No.
Oh, I just assumed you guys met in college. How did you meet?
No, I was actually working at Starbucks at the time. And
Yeah, so you were picking up Starbucks baristas?
yeah, she was.
for the coffee. I actually didn't love coffee before I met Josh very much, but yeah.
Well, I mean, if these are your roots, you would need to love coffee.
Yeah.
No, I worked with some Bethel students at Starbucks, and so I'd actually come to church at Bethel with some of my coworkers at the time, and they told me about the church, and I was like, I was raised in a Pentecostal church. That doesn't scare me.
Yeah.
So
Bring it on.
I came to church, and I saw Vanessa for the first time that service. I think just saw her walk by, and but never met her. Not until months later, and so that's how I kind of came on the scene.
Yeah.
Of Bethel,
And this is 08.
2008.
Yeah.
Wow, so this is the first year.
Gosh, hold
Was
on.
it-
That
was
was
it-
2012.
It was later.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I'm old.
yeah, it was a
I don't
little
want to
bit.
hear it, mister. That's all I have to say about it. Okay, got it.
It was a little bit later. And then it was a funny story because you saw me then, and then it was like a few months later, I came through the drive-through after working out.
Okay.
And I did not even get a coffee. I got like a passion tea or something like that, something cool after working out. And Josh just said, "You're beautiful," in the drive-thru. And I was like sweaty and messy, just got done working out. And I was like, "Thank you." And that was it. But they wear headsets in Starbucks, right? You want to add to that?
So we had a headset on, and the girl that was working on the bar goes to Bethel, and she's like, "Did you just tell that girl she was beautiful?" And I was like, "Yeah, she's hot." and she this is a friend of mine that I'd actually come to Bethel with, Holly, and Holly looks back out the window and she's like, "That's Vanessa Vogel," and I was like, "Who's Vanessa Vogel?" and so she's like, she goes to church with us.
So then still I drive off, and then months after that, some similar mutual friends from the school. At that time I was working, I think I've had several jobs here, but I was working and helping in the ministry school. So I knew a lot more of the students, and I was hanging out with them one day, and then someone said, let's hang out in Newnan tonight. I've got a friend's loft, the lofts in downtown Newnan,
Yes.
that we could go hang out at. And it was Josh's loft. And so just those similar mutual friends running in circles and stuff. I walked in that night, and Josh likes to say that I walked into his bedroom is how we met as a short answer, because it was a studio loft. So it's all one. It's all his bedroom. Yeah. So, but that's like usually his punchline to get people when people are like, how'd you meet? She walked into my bedroom one night.
You gotta have an intriguing story, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. And then we just kind of kept growing from there.
No, yeah. And even after I saw her in the drive-thru, didn't try to get her phone number or pick her up or anything. But that was almost 6 months later to the date when she walked in. And when she walked through the door, I was like, that's that girl.
So you remember.
And I knew. I was like, oh, okay, it's on.
It's on,
She's
baby.
now at my house.
Yeah.
She walked through my doors.
Yeah.
Best story
That's a great
ever. I
story.
haven't heard any of this.
Yeah.
That's super great.
Yeah.
So you guys started dating from that point on.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, we just kept hanging out, and I kept saying, like, yeah, let's just get to know each other. But everything Josh planned was like, okay, you want to go hang out and run errands in Atlanta? I got to go get something. We will happen to go by and need to eat dinner, and from that point on, we just...
Wait. So what was happening? Were you?
So I asked Vanessa if she wanted to go on a date, and she was like, well, I don't know when. And I was like, anytime. Like, what? Anytime. So she was like, well, yeah, maybe we could just go out and do something as friends. I was like, all right. And so our first hangout with friends, I said, hey, I've got to go pick up some stuff in Atlanta. It was like Pottery Barn or something. And so we drive from Peachtree City to Atlanta. We're like in the mall shopping for 2 hours. Of course, we drive up there an hour. And then, we've been at it for 3 or 4 hours. Like, man, I'm hungry. Before we go meet your friends, have you eaten anything yet? I know they've already eaten. So she's like, yeah, I guess we can grab something. I was like, all right, I know a place around the corner. It's like a nice sit-down dinner.
French bistro in Buckhead. It's like fancy.
Are you okay if we go in and eat? So, yeah, we sit down and have like a 2-hour dinner.
He was kind to me as I was like more reserved at the beginning. He warmed me up to what I didn't even know I was wanting. And then I was like, yeah, okay. And then it just kept going from there.
Were you just not dating at all? Were you
I wasn't
not
dating
interested?
anyone, and I was for sure interested. I think it was just, it was more just, I don't know, let's just keep getting to know each other, keep hanging out. And it did not take long after that to be like, this is dating, and yeah, I want to. This is great.
What is not long? Are we talking 3 months, 6 months?
Oh, I feel like it was like, we just didn't stop hanging out after that point. And it was like weeks later that it was like, oh, yeah, I don't want to stop hanging out.
Like, when did you know that you were going to marry Josh Hale?
I think I knew like pretty soon in that this is somebody I could marry. It probably took me further months in to actually decide upon that. But yeah, that was me.
I've always said 2 weeks.
Did you really?
In
2 weeks from Starbucks, or 2 weeks from when she walked into your bedroom?
2 weeks from when 2 weeks from when we started talking to each other and hanging out.
knew.
Yeah.
Wow. So how'd you keep it cool when you knew 2 weeks?
I didn't keep it that cool. She was obviously a little slow moving at start, and so, but now I knew, and then she wanted to keep hanging out.
You learned that verse out of Corinthians about the first thing that love is patient.
Patient.
Totally.
3 years later, we got married.
Really? So 3 years. It was 3 years of knowing each other, dating?
Uh-huh. Yeah. And I think
I had to move around for work, so that kind of caused a couple of hiccups as well.
Yeah. But it was, once we got engaged, so we were probably dating 2.5 years, and then we had a quick engagement. It was like a little under 6 months, probably 5.5 months or so.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Best story ever. And then here we are in 2019, 2 babies.
Yes.
Take a minute and tell us about the honeys.
Yeah.
Yeah, we've got 2 sweet little boys. We've got Joshua Scott Hale Jr., named after Josh, because we really are believing in legacy and wanting to build a legacy. So it just felt special to give him Josh's name. And then another little boy, Jackson Harper Hale. So, and they're close. They're like 16 months apart. So we've been busy the past few years and sleepy, but so happy.
Busy, sleepy, and happy.
Baby Jack.
Yeah. Baby
Talk
Jack.
to us. Why legacy? Tell us about legacy. What are your thoughts on legacy? Why are you building legacy?
We just care about it. It feels super important. It feels like the heart of God. You know, it feels right to build for generations. And even financially, when we dream a lot of our decisions and our moves are really made around like dreaming what our kids and our kids' will enjoy. And it just feels kingdom. Like it feels like whatever God did, it never had the purpose to stop, but just keep growing. You know, glory to glory. And even things that could have been lost in our family line, we just believe there's a lot of redemption. He's like a redeeming God. And so just to like be intentional of always thinking forward and believing for even bigger than ourselves, you know?
That's awesome.
So that's kind of what I think. What do you think, babe?
Yeah. I mean, legacy, I mean, you know, ultimately we've got the greatest inheritance in the Lord, but, you know, here on earth, it's kind of felt like there's been some generations, and on my side of the family, some generations that, you know, haven't been as successful, you know.
Sure.
But, you know, my mom, one of 9 children, was the first one in her family to go to college.
Wow.
Same for my dad. But my dad passed away when I was 20. And,
I
you
didn't know.
And his 2 regrets, one of his 2 regrets were, you know, he had only so many months to live, so he knew he was, you know, not going to make it. And one of his was not being able to see his family kind of bounce back from financial failure.
Wow.
You know, he had multiple businesses bankrupt, and so we were in a tough spot when we lost him. And the other was not really getting to, you know, see his family grow, grandchildren, etc. So for me, you know, that's been something I'm, you know, kind of really took up and was like, man, I'm going to see this through and make sure that, you know, my family gets the legacy that my parents attempted. And, you know, I mean, and my dad was an entrepreneur. Like I said, he had 5 businesses that ended up going bankrupt, but he was really going for it. And so all the way from college, you know, I've set out to be an entrepreneur more so than picking a job, just you know, to try to fulfill his dreams as well through our children, grandchildren, like Vanessa said.
Wow.
And you know, as far as him wanting to see his family grow, I told Vanessa even before we got married, I've got a dream of a really big family. So
That's beautiful.
You know, I always joke with her, I would like to have 10 children.
He wants like full teams. Like we'll be the entire sport team.
Yes. Yes.
He did tell me. He did not like wing that on me or surprise me. So I always say, we'll just take it one baby at a time. And
but I've always said I would be willing to compromise. I mean, that's not a hard set number. 7 would still be great.
He's like, hey, you're not delivering these babies now.
Throwing that out there.
Yeah.
That's right. We can buy some of them.
Yeah, there you go.
Best.
we love adoption. That too.
Which
So
is a beautiful thought.
yeah.
Is this how you pick up things that have been dropped in the family line?
What do you mean?
Earlier you said picking up some things that might have been dropped in our family lines. Is this how you do it? Is that what Josh just said?
Yeah, I think that's the stuff, I guess, when I'm thinking of even just like more even financially, what we're trying to just see and build and redeem. And I feel like, you know, spiritually we have really strong family histories and lines, which is beautiful. So just kind of moving and growing upon that. But yeah, I think just the heart of like, yeah, God would never, I think, want to stop there. He wants to redeem anything and then just grow it. So just really partnering and believing, you know, with that. And it's neat. Josh just has a natural gift and love for entrepreneurship and like business and stuff. So I love partnering with that. I actually went to Georgia Tech. And I got my degree in business administration and mastered in HR and minored in marketing. So there's a side of me that still just really loves it. So even though he's kind of executing a lot of that in the day to day, it's really fun. I feel like my life's kind of a dream. I get to live in the side of like my passions around worship and just my love for art and all that stuff. But that side of me that loves just talking and brainstorming really loves at the end of the day just dreaming and into that with Josh and just getting to like use that side of my brain and all that stuff.
Wow.
So it's fun. So we like dreaming and, you know, just believing for the best.
So many questions. Oh my gosh, this is beautiful. But let's go ahead and talk worship. Vanessa,
yeah.
how did this happen?
Well,
You
worship.
business major.
Yeah, right. At Georgia Tech. People probably, they wouldn't imagine. You know, I think ever since I was a little girl, I grew up in a great home and, you know, got saved when I was 3 and it was genuine. I feel like, you know, it was, I feel like I just really, it's just never been a question, you know, walking with Jesus.
Who
And
walked with you?
my parents.
At 3, they led you to the Lord at 3. You remember?
And I remember like the spot I was standing in our house and I just remember the normal of my whole life. Like I remember going to bed and just like laughing by myself in the room, you know, and just feeling peace and joy. And it was just the normal. And so, super healthy upbringing. And just in that, I think I always liked music. I started piano lessons like super young. You know, I was probably like 6 or 7 and, you know, Braylon, beautiful elementary school, always had a fun little chorus program, even from like 4th grade on. So I was doing all that stuff. And so I naturally loved music, but I don't know, just when I'd go to church and stuff, I just always loved worship. I always loved that time. I loved it just in my own life, growing up. So it was always just a passion and something I was stewarding. And it was always things that were even kind of like guiding decisions of, oh, I don't want to do that sport because I couldn't be there on Sundays and I want to, you know, be involved. And so, because from super young, I was, since I started playing piano so young, I was on even the worship team on Sunday, just in that capacity. And I just super loved it. And so something that was just always streamed throughout. I did, you know, helped with leading and did stuff when I was in youth group and in high school. And then, even when I went to college, it was like legitimately a deciding factor. But I don't want to be too far because I want to still be able to be plugged in, just to that beautiful corporate worship that I like loved, you know, was used to. And so I'd come down here Sunday mornings and I'd, go to Midtown in Atlanta Sunday nights with all my friends at college and just loved it. And so something that I was always like just serving in and just trying to be faithful to God. Like even people ask that before college of if this is your passion and this is what you say like is in your heart and dream to do one day, you know, why do you even go to college? Why are you taking this direction? And I just felt like I was being faithful to the doors that were open and what I felt like was being highlighted. And I super did value education. I really wanted to go to college. And there were sides, like I said, you know, that I was passionate about, with school and with business and things that I was like, I still feel like this is just the path and what I'm supposed to do. So it was neat. So I just kept kind of walking in what I felt like was open in front of me, went through school, had a really wonderful experience working at Chick-fil-A headquarters and even just their corporate culture and them valuing so much of like, what is the desires of your heart? You know, what do you love outside of this? And I still just kept walking and pursuing stuff with that, serving on Sundays a lot and in different areas. And then kind of, it was neat, just different doors opened, along the way for me to work here. And that even felt just like the right step to take in the sense that it wasn't a worship position, but it was going to even yield more time to be in this culture and around that.
What was that position?
So at the time, they didn't have anyone in HR. So I was going to be the new HR director, build up that department. And then I was kind of just doing project management stuff. I was working with Lauren Brownlee a lot. And at the time, she was overseeing the ministry school, Bethel Atlanta School of Supernatural Ministry. And so I was helping her a lot with just administrative and like operational things in that capacity in that area. And then building that HR department. And so that's what I was doing. And then it kind of little by little switched into overseeing and building up an administration department as a whole. And Lauren kind of switched some of her roles a little bit. So things just kind of morphed over time. And so for a while I was overseeing administration department and still doing HR stuff. And then Ben and Kelly, who are amazing, who were here in this role before me, they just needed some areas to be served a little bit more. So I kind of moved that administrative stuff to serve them a little bit. They kind of redirected my job there. So that
and
was,
you're serving on the praise and worship
and I was
team
serving
this entire
still.
time.
Yeah.
Okay.
And just loving it, just soaking up any opportunity. And I still say to this day, if I was never paid ever to do this again, it would still be just something out of the overflow of my heart, wherever we were, that I'd want to be plugged into. So, yeah, kind of just naturally started serving there, and that was neat because I really started learning kind of what the ins and outs of that world looked like, and then they just made a natural, healthy transition for their lives and what they were wanting to pursue, and they just, then senior team was like, you just kind of feel like the natural next step, so that's kind of how we got there. So
this is a beautiful story of natural next steps.
Yeah. So just kind of following your favor, following what doors are in front of you at the time, and just trying to be super faithful in each of those seasons, and still at the same time stewarding what you love, and just serving in that area. So it was great.
Yeah. So you talked a little bit, earlier about legacy in your family.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about how you're feeling like you're building a legacy here in worship at Bethel.
Okay. Yeah. I think even just our value as a whole, like as a church body, as a family, that there's no junior Holy Spirit. Like kids can experience God at the youngest age, and it is real. Like I said, like just my memory of that, of even getting saved so young, and that we value family being a part of the corporate worship experience. I love how the kids all come to worship before they go to their classes. I think it's beautiful, and I think it's just creating a culture of like, it's not a duty. It's we enjoy the presence of God, and we do this together from the oldest person in the room to the youngest. And I think it's just normal. Like if kids grow up in it, they won't know any difference. And I think it's just going to it'll naturally create a beautiful legacy. It's not something you even have to try for. And I think it's just like with any even just relationship. Like if Joshua and Jackson see us just loving each other well, it'll build a legacy to where they'll naturally do that in their own relationships and lives. And so I think if our kids and, just as a family as a whole, they experience, loving God is just, it's a privilege, it's a joy. It's beautiful to be in his presence. It's beautiful to love on him in this way with our worship. And not just on a Sunday, but like with our lives. My son sees me just talking well of Jesus and how good he is. It's going to be natural to want to just partake in that relationship himself. So, I think just making it a part of our culture, and it just so is already.
Totally.
I think it's a good way that we're doing it without even really thinking about it. So,
well, how is it going? And I would ask both of you, how is that going at church? The legacy at church?
I feel like it's going great. I feel like it's beautiful. I feel like I love seeing the kids, even being so active, and I think it's neat. We've had some prophetic words here that some stuff's even going to be sparked by the littlest, and we've seen some of that unfold. Even what was that so many months ago? Justin Stockman's girl, was it Arabelle?
It was Arabelle.
Had a dream the night before of seeing her dad get healed, and felt like she was supposed to say something on the mic on Sunday. You will be healed, and he would get healed, and stuff would happen, and that happened in front of us. And so, and I think just just seeing the kids, it's their norm. I love seeing them not even having to be standing still or focusing, but they're just playing, and and that's normal. That's good. That it's like they're playing in the presence of their family, the people around them. They're playing in the presence of God, and so I feel super good about it. I don't know. You have any thoughts?
No, I mean, just the part where you kind of mentioned, relationally, when we love each other well, they're going to see that done and then know how to do it well also. Mm-hmm. And when it comes to worship, for me, I think, one of the biggest roles I can have for my boys, my babies, is to be my truest self and as authentic as possible wherever I'm at with the Lord, and however I feel, to respond to him in that moment, whether it's like praying, talking about him, or singing, dancing, worshiping, whatever that might be. I think when they feel like this is really authentic, because it's going to change. Sure. You're going to go through different seasons, and I feel like if you're being your true self in that moment, you're always going to respond a little differently. Mm-hmm. I mean, sometimes you should be crying Sometimes you should be
Yeah.
screaming happy,
Mm-hmm.
and if you're not true to that and how you respond in that moment, then they may try to make up just what they've seen, as opposed to realizing like, oh, this is a response to what's going on right now, and how I respond to the Lord in that.
That's
So
really good.
I think the authenticity of our worship is more important than anything. And one thing that's great about the Bethel culture or the culture here in Atlanta is when you see a mix of people responding differently, and there's an acceptance in the room around that, and that lets you know that, man, that we've got a body of people, body of believers that are all going through different things right now, and and it's okay to be in a different place.
Mm-hmm. Which
That's
is so good, because
beautiful.
I think it points to it's a real relationship.
Right.
It's not an act, or it's not a duty, because duty can look like, yeah, I'll show up and do this, but I think God just loves our hearts of just genuine love, of, like you said, responding, of just whatever that looks like for you in this season, and it feels like spirit and truth.
Is this a synonym for everyone's a praise and worship leader?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
that's a good way to put it. I didn't even think of that connection. Steve has that, saying he's been championing in this house, and I think what that really just means is you can be the point for somebody else in the room and you don't even realize it, but you just being your authentic self, authentically responding in that moment to Jesus, and just being in a genuine connection and relationship. I think it's neat, because that truth, you can feel it when it's true versus I'm not sure what's going on. But that can point someone straight, and almost like an invitation into his presence of, wow, they're really experiencing him. So, and I think we all are. We're all carrying something. We're all made to rule, and we're co-heirs. We're kings and queens in his kingdom, royal priesthood. And so I think just we're meant to carry something that show up and lead. And we all just have something in us that's to offer him. And it's super important. I think it's something I've been thinking about a lot lately. I really think every voice matters. And I think it pleases God's heart. It sounds different than when I think it's super important to have a lifestyle of worship to where it's the overflow of our heart Monday through Saturday. And then Sunday we get to come together and just celebrate him together out of that overflow. But I think you can't give God the same, like within yourself, there's something that's unique, you adding your voice to the whole, and that's got to just sound so beautiful to God, and so unique. And I especially love that in our culture, because people believe it and they show up and they have something to bring. And like Josh said, I just love the diversity of our family, and it just sounds and looks so unique. And I think that's just going to be what heaven looks like.
It's beautiful.
I think one of the things I love so much about, especially in our church culture, and you look around and you see all these young dads, and they've got babies strapped to their chest.
It is pretty fun.
And their babies are out. It's not like they're in, like they're out. They're got their little headphones on, and they are literally experiencing everything.
Yeah.
It's the greatest. And I think, wow, there's such a multi-generational teaching, and really, really more of like a capturing of the spirit of what's happening. And I've loved Josh. I see you do that.
Too,
I see
Josh. I was about to say, I love watching you with your boys strapped on your chest.
I think Stevie Hale, I think Matthew Hale, their families, just love seeing that happen in our environment. And you guys just really exemplify that well. And so I just love seeing that.
Oh,
Josh,
so
how
great.
are your boys responding?
Yeah, that was going to be my question.
For the most part, I feel like when I'm worshiping in a service with Joshua, I feel like he's just taking it in. It's like he doesn't have his hands up. He's not clapping. He's not singing. But it's like a wonder, on his face. It's kind of like, man, this is new. What is this? And that's really the moment where we're being leaders, worship leaders, where it's kind of like we're showing them. It's like, hey, check this out.
Yeah.
This is what Mama does. This is what we do.
What kind of satisfaction does that give you as a parent?
Well, a lot. And even more personally for me, my mom I grew up, they say you want to marry your dad, you want to marry your mom, somebody like that. Well, I grew up in the church, similar to Vanessa, great spiritual upbringing. However, I was only saved at 8, so Vanessa beat me by 5 years. But so she's a better Christian than me.
No.
Yeah.
Obviously, that's what she was saying.
That's what I was going for.
No, but I grew up in church my whole life, and my mom was on the praise and worship team. She's still on the praise and worship team, and so being in church with my kids, it literally feels like this is right. This is and then here's mom up on stage again.
Wow.
So it does. It feels like we're right where we're supposed to be.
But what a gift to be able to give your children. When
Sure.
you guys get that feeling that you're just like, of all the things I'm going to give you, this is in the top 5 of just, wow, this value of
It's
what
incredible.
I can give you.
Yeah, it's incredible. I think Josh said it the other day. He's like, I think we're living right in the middle of what God planned for all of us. Like,
Wow.
it really,
Wow.
and it is amazing. It's just, I think about his plans for our life and how he just is so kind and grows us so well. Like, we get to grow from children, into adulthood. And I think every phase just gives us the opportunity and refines us to look more like him.
Yeah.
I think Laura told me, and I think she read it or was telling someone else, but she was like, and both are beautiful. And I think God has passed for both. But she was basically just saying, if you want to just do a lot for Jesus over your life, you just keep trucking, stay single, and you will be able to accomplish many great things. And that's beautiful. If you want to become more like Jesus, you get married.
Yeah.
Part of yourself is going to instantly be refined there. And there's like a new level of selflessness. And then you have children.
Yeah.
And it's like a whole new ball game of what that takes you on. But it's amazing because it really does. It's like a daily refining, a daily surrender, a daily learning to serve, people that can't instantly give back to you. But then just a daily new opportunities of revelation of God's love for you. And people say that, and I get it now. I think of once you have your own children, you do get it, of just even understanding God as a good father, which I felt like I had such a super great grasp because I had an excellent father growing up. But still, it's like you get it. Oh, his love for me, is just that big.
Yeah.
And it's neat. He gave us a life to live out that kind of gets to keep unfolding revelations of his nature and us getting to look more like him. And kids are the greatest gift, and
Is this transformation?
yeah, I guess it could be, a little bit of that. So that's
Okay.
that's a good
So
word for it. But
Being transformed into the image of Jesus.
yeah. And just the joy, like you said, it brings. I know
You
it's Josh's
guys-
greatest joy.
You guys do this so powerfully, and you do this so effortlessly. And I say that respectfully. I realize there's always so much effort.
A
But
daily effort. Yeah.
there's so much effort, but there's a beautiful effort of like a genuine growth, and without struggle and striving. And I mean those in a negative sense. What is that? Is that heritage? Is this? Who do you attribute this? I mean, obviously you attribute this to the Lord.
I feel like you're building this up a little too much. I honestly,
You're so kind. Rick.
yeah, that's
Thanks for seeing us
generous.
prophetically.
To say we're doing it real well and effortlessly. I feel like I had a revelation this weekend with parenting or raising children. Joshua he's 21 months old, so almost 2 years old. he's into the Incredibles, and we got him a little action figure set this weekend. It had like 10 characters from the Incredibles, and he's barely he's talking where he can say any word. He can kind of repeat it.
It's
and
exciting.
It's really he's barely there. You're trying to decipher what he's saying, but it was really fun when he was pointing to the action figures that he knew who they were, and so he was saying Elastigirl, obviously not that clearly, but
Elastigirl? Lastiger.
and so, but he could name all 10 of them.
Wow.
And at the end of that, we've also been feeling a little weight of, man, we've been using the TV a little too much to get everything done around the house.
Sure.
And I think the realization that Joshua, under the age of 2, could name 10 characters from The Incredibles, and I was like, Vanessa, I've never heard him say the name Jesus. It was just, just something to kind of point out, like
a little check
we're putting a little too much focus and attention
on The Incredibles,
on some entertainment, and we've got a ways to go in parenting.
Time to whip out the VeggieTales.
Right. Yeah. What are some other shows we can
Phil.
utilize if we need to?
I appreciate your sensitivity, and I mean it genuinely. I don't think we could build you guys up enough.
Thanks.
We've had all the praise and worship team. Pretty much. I mean, I shouldn't say all.
For
We've
the
had
most part, yeah.
a lot of the
lot
praise
of
and worship
people.
teams. So the people that serve with you guys. And have you ever seen The Knight's Tale?
Have you ever seen the movie The
The
Knight's
movie
Tale?
The Knight's
I
Tale.
don't think so. I've
Heath
heard
Ledger.
of it. I've heard of it.
Yeah,
You've
it's
seen
kind
it?
of a comedy, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Best movie ever. And they
That's a
say
good one.
something in this. They say if
King Arthur. He
King
says it.
Arthur says about William, so the lead, he says, if I didn't know anything else about you, but that your people love you the way that they do, that would be enough. So I would say all of your team, and we've had them
Yeah.
on, love you guys.
Yeah.
Genuinely are grateful, thankful. Like, oh my gosh, you've been significant in all of their lives. And again, I don't think we could build you up enough. You've done so well. It's
So
a
well.
beautiful
Thanks, guys.
honor to watch and get to watch, just walk with you guys. I mean, you do it so beautifully and
Thank
so
you.
genuinely. So
Oh, thank you.
thanks for that. And again, I want to come back to this. What is it like leading in a body where the revelation is everyone is a praise and worship leader? Because just by like our observation, Kevin's and my observation, I think it's one of the things that we attribute to this culture being so wildly different. It's just that idea of we're all leading. But Vanessa, you're the actual leader. What in the world is that like? Leading powerful people like that.
It's amazing because I think Steve maybe even said this last Sunday, sometime during the transition, but you could have the best band in the world, the best, most qualified leaders, and if you didn't have the room, the body showing up to participate, but to just, listen, it would be a whole different ball game. And so I think that scenario, or if people, I think, are, if you're in that position, I think there's just a grace, and God will teach you how to lead people into that revelation and that truth that, we all carry something, we all bring something. And this is not a spectator sport. This is like something he designed us to do, to like behold him and to place basically the value of our heart back to him of you are so good and, you're worthy. And, but when you have a people that already believe that, your floor is already at a very high starting place. So where you get to go and lead is not so much like, come on, join in. Let's participate. Okay, lift your voice. Let's sing this part. And that sort of leading, you get to move from there to like navigating where God wants to go. Like, what do you want to do today, God? Because you got people that are like, yeah, we're going, no matter what. And so it's such an honor. It's such the best place ever to get to lead from, because there's none of that, none of that having to be more like taught or directed. And I think that's also part of that osmosis, that experience, the culture that's just naturally going to be passed down to family, that it's just going to keep growing in momentum and never stop. Because it isn't having to lead to that place. It's like we're already starting at such a high point that we just get to enjoy his presence together and get to just explore that. And what do you want to do today, God? And so it's a beautiful gift.
Wow.
So yeah,
Wow.
it is for sure. Like you said, I think one of the defining things, it wouldn't be the same, I think, if we weren't all coming with that truth.
What are some other things that kind of build this culture from both of you? Because it's just such a different culture. I mean, when we bring guests, all of us bring guests. I mean, I've never brought a friend that was not like, what in the world is even happening here? And we're like, and that's one of the keys. We're like, we really believe that, in honor, that you honor Jesus in people, and he's working in everybody. And, so we all just, but what are some other keys that just really define what's happening here?
I think we really believe God is who he says he is, and we're all on a journey of our identity and really believing he is who we say he is, or we are who he says we are. Okay. And so out of that truth, it's just a natural overflow. It's a real relationship. It's not just something we're reading about in history, We're believing that he was the same yesterday, today, and tomorrow. And so it's just this, like, you are that good. I'm experiencing you in my life. And it's just an easy overflow. I've also been thinking about a lot lately, like, just things that I think are an indicator in our culture, and things that we'll keep watching, is that I just think personally, like, my prayer lately has been, let my passion for you, God, like, let my passion in worship match the passion of your message, like, of your life, of the message of the gospel, of what you did. You're the most passionate being. You're the most passionate person we ever saw in history, and how you moved. And so let my life be able to match in worship, like, and just in my day to day, the goodness of who you are, and the message, the passion of the message of the gospel. And so I think, like I said, people believe that here, like they really, it's just very alive. So it's easy, if that's a day-to-day relationship, to just have a genuine overflow. And I think it's a good example, again, like, you can pull it back to marriage. And if there's just a really healthy, natural, growing, constant relationship, things will grow that will naturally come out of love versus duty. And I think we're all on a journey in that too.
But I would also say, from your role as a leader on the worship team, I've been coming since we've had our boys earlier in the morning, when they're kind of doing their practice and stuff, and which I've never really tuned into or paid much attention to. But I hear you telling your team, like, hey, when we hit this chorus, when we start doing this, let's see where that takes us. You guys are doing a lot more things to allow the whole body to be in a moment and continue to build on that, or to stay there and let worship grow or become different than it might if you just sing a song and you're done. Mm-hmm. And so and then you guys will you even go off songs, and I don't know what you call it in the music industry or world, but you ad lib, or just like the prophetic moments, or sure, spontaneous praise. Before Bethel, I've never seen that kind of stuff really done in worship. I've seen, prayerful moments. You kind of keep going. We're going to keep singing this over and over. But on the backside of it, or behind the scenes on the stage, those guys are really in tune to, Holy Spirit, where are you taking this church right now? And so there's a lot of stuff going on, I feel like, with the worship team, where they're really, saying, okay, Lord, where are we going? And not like I said, not until I was coming in the morning watching them practice did I realize, oh man, these guys really are directing this ship.
Yeah.
So best observation ever.
Yeah, that's really
Thanks.
great.
Yeah,
so I do want to ask one more question, because I know we got to kind of bring this to a close, but I want to ask one more question, then I do want to open it up for a chance for you guys to just give prophetic words, or if you're hearing the Lord say anything, just to our listeners, we'd love for you to just speak into them. But I think one of the questions that I wanted to ask you is, when you look the next 2 to 5 years here at Bethel, what are you believing for, and what are you dreaming into?
That's good. I keep saying, I feel like the piece of vision God has given me to not, it's almost even just helpful, because it can feel like you can get out and it's so big, like what's next. But I feel like he said, every time you worship, believe you're laying a piece of foundation for the greatest wave of worship the world has ever known. Beautiful. And I think what that means, that's the point isn't, and I think it will be excellent, but the point isn't just great music, or just fame for the sake of fame. It's the greatest wave of worship means, I feel like, just outpouring of his presence, like that, just a place where he will dwell, and just a great movement. And I think having a full body of believers that, are believing the words they're singing and are engaged. And I think it'll just be a place that naturally hosts his presence. So, and I think also the other thing he says is that every time we worship, there's an opportunity for breakthrough. And so I think we're just going to see more and more an increase of his presence. We're going to see more and more people just naturally coming in, experiencing his presence, having an overflow. So we'll just see what that looks like as it unfolds, as he pours himself out more. And then I think I'm just really believing we're going to see creative miracles in worship before we ever hear anyone praying for anyone, just because he's in our presence and that's who he is healer. And then me specifically, what I feel like he's telling me right now to even focus on with our team is I really feel like it's a season in time. I've been feeling a long time, and Josh all the time asks me, like, are you writing enough? But I feel like we're going to write significant songs that even help lead us into that, and are just significant for our body. And you can kind of feel it. Like, our leaders are almost even having a hard time picking songs, not because they're great, but it feels like there's something brewing that's like a song of our house, and like something that's in our DNA, something that we're carrying. And I think God just wants us as key players on the earth to be releasing that stuff. I think we have just a mission to do that. So I feel like we're going to just see more and more what that like wave of presence looks like. I think we're going to see incredible healings. I think we're just going to keep experiencing more of him. And I think as a body and as a house, things that come out of moments together in worship. And that's why it's even so important to participate, because those things where we go off into prophetic moments or just spontaneous praise, a lot of those snippets come out of that. And I think that's actually gold from our whole family. It's not stuff that we're getting in our one-on-one time. We're getting a lot of like our content from like our family gathering. And I think it's not something we'd be getting otherwise if our family wasn't just so engaged in like going there and just pressing in. So I think you'll see in 2 to 5 years us doing a lot of stuff out of just what's come out of us, of our house. So that's kind of what I see.
It's great.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Hales, oh my goodness. Josh, is there anything you want to release? Again, we just always open it up to the guests for anything you're feeling, anything that's just burning in you that you want to just release on the people listening.
Yeah, gosh, I think Vanessa's got the worship side of our family covered for the church. The only thing I feel like, honestly, that I've really been praying for and hopeful for our church. Worship, it feels like we're just, we're there. And so not much to add there. I really have a hope for just the teaching and preaching in our church to be something that that's coming out of our house, and that rounds us out, and that draws people here as well. And there's just a consistency there that people really feel like, man, I am being led and taught the word, and it's just as alive to me as the worship is. Yeah. And that's kind of my dream for Bethel right now.
Awesome. Josh, thanks.
Yeah, it's beautiful.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. Joshua and Vanessa Hale, thank you guys very much for coming and being our guest, and you're precious people. We appreciate you.
You guys are too. Thank you.
We're looking forward to see everything that you're dreaming and hoping for come to pass. So it's going to be fantastic. So thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All right. So much love to you. We would love to hear any of your feedback, your testimonies, anytime. We always are believing that people get healed just listening. Yeah. We're always believing that people hear the Lord and have revelation just listening. So please contact us at
BAchats@BethelAtlanta.com. Super easy. BAchats@BethelAtlanta.com. Email us today. We'd love to hear your story, your testimony, because we want to have an opportunity to share those as well. So God can continue to do it again over and over and over.
We love you guys. You remember, Jesus loves you.
And we love you too.